Update. Because of my 31 female husband of 10 years, 42 male actions, I'm losing my friends and family. Original post. We have been married for almost 10 years and have 2 children together. Over the past few years, my friends and family members have distanced themselves from us, to the point where some will no longer spend time with us. I know that my husband can be very rude and controlling, like dictating where everyone sits when we're out at dinner with friends, playing only his music when we have people over at our house, picking fights with me in public, etc. And I can understand them not wanting to spend time socially with him. However, he will not let me go and spend time with them on my own. He is quite jealous of me. I asked my sister, 35 female, about this, and she told me some rather disturbing things. Namely, that after her husband and mine had an argument, my husband then had started spreading rumors that her significant other had interfered with our children. He then contacted her directly and implied that her husband was cheating on her. What the heck? Neither of these things have any basis in truth. One of my other friends recently told me that my husband told them I cheated on him all the time. They figured it was lies, but felt uncomfortable talking to me about it. After I asked him why he would say that, he had a heated argument with them and screamed at them for interfering in his marriage. He picks fights with me when we are visiting with friends, making it awkward for everyone, and has previously abandoned me at others' houses because he was angry. All of this adds up to them not wanting to spend time with him, but it makes it very difficult for me to maintain those friendships due to his jealousy. There is more, but I don't know how much information to provide. Please ask me if you have any questions. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Sounds like you need a divorce. He's controlling your life in a way that you obviously don't want. Go seek help from a professional, or confront him about these things yourself. I have raised this issue a few times now, and his response is along the lines of, I only said/did this because. He has refused counseling even though I begged him to attend with me. It feels like he simply doesn't care that I'm losing my friends, and when I show that it's upsetting me, he criticizes them and tries to convince me that I'm better off without them. It's not that he doesn't care. It's that he relishes in driving away your friends and family. He is isolating you. Isolation is a common tactic of maltreating partners. It is easier for him to control you when you have no friends or family to support you. He is emotionally mistreating you. No one likes him, including you. You want your kids to learn that mistreatment is the normal way to conduct a marriage? No, you don't. Open your own bank account, lawyer up, and file for divorce. No, I don't. He is obviously not like this 100% of the time, but what he does leaves a foul taste in my mouth, and I don't respect him. If my daughter were in a relationship with a partner that acted like this, I would do everything in my power to help her leave. Eventually, the effort to maintain these community ties will become too exhausting, and you let them go. When that happens, he'll be your only source of support and love. You won't feel that you have any choice but to be obedient and please him, because without him your world will crumble. If that's not the kind of future you want, get out now. It's already starting to feel that way. First update. I just spoke with my sister and apologized for what my husband had said. As difficult as it was to get out, I told her that I was really unhappy and I didn't know if I should stay with him. She told me that while she was not comfortable spending any time around him, she would always be there for me no matter what I decided, and that I am welcome in her house at any time. She also said that if I do decide to leave, she would love to have a stay with her while sort things out. But when I asked her what she thought I should do, she said she couldn't tell me, but that I should think about things as though I was a close friend talking to myself. I don't know if that makes sense in the writing of it, but I hope you get the idea. Right now, I don't know what to do. And thinking through not only this, but other things he says and does, I am quite shattered. I feel sick. I don't know how I'll be able to handle my emotions when he gets home. And now for the last update. Well, it took about a month to finally tell him that I was done, that I was leaving, but I did it. Another month before I was able to move out properly, but I stuck to my decision. And here I am 8.5 months later. I struggle a lot with the things he has/is putting me through, but my friends and family have been fantastic support. One thing that stuck out in all of this was his reaction when I first told him that I wanted to leave. He broke down, told me how sorry he was, that he would change, he loved me, etc. And I had some hope that things would improve. Then the next morning he started the most god-awful fight, screaming at me for even thinking of leaving him. How could I do that to him? That he would never trust me with his heart again and all kinds of other BS. He started throwing things, ripped the curtains down, drank about half a bottle of vodka, and I just left. All I could think was how his reaction was all about him. This kind of crap continued for the next couple of weeks. I slept in the spare room but would wake up to him snuggling against me. He kept buying me perfume and flowers but then would smash something or scream at me in front of the kids. He didn't lay a hand on me, but I think there were times that he was close to it. Oh, and then he overdosed on some anti-anxiety medication his doctor had prescribed. So I called an ambulance and let them take him into the hospital, which meant that I didn't care at all apparently. His new girlfriend moved in within weeks of me moving out. That was a surprise. I honestly don't know if he cheated on me, but he had her lined up pretty quickly. He hasn't stopped him from sending me about 1 million messages demanding that we work in our marriage though. At the same time, he spreads lies about how I left him for another man, or he dumped me because I cheated on him. So many lies that I don't know how he keeps track of them all. I just don't reply to him or his friends anymore. It will be another few months before I can file for divorce. We have to be separated for 12 months first, but I'm happier. My days are peaceful, aside from the nasty messages I get, and my friends are wonderful. I've been doing counseling, which has helped some, but to be honest, I think just being away from him has been the best thing for me. I don't know how the property settlement will end up. He keeps making threats to bankrupt us, which I doubt he would do, but still. The court system here is pretty fair apparently, so I just give it to my solicitor. It's too much stress for me to try and deal with. My children are adjusting slowly. They're with me almost all the time. When we were going through the breakup month, my ex was pretty horrible in front of them, so it will take some time for them to heal. But we will be okay. Congratulations! It's hard, but you'll pull through it. Good job. I wish you the best for you and your children. Thank you. It has been hard, but I know I've done the right thing. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. It's been 2 years since I got out of my awful relationship, so I understand how rough it is transitioning from the mistreatment to a normal life, and still have problems with it today. I always have an ear ready to listen if you need one. Thank you so much. I will keep that in mind. My friends have been borne the brunt of my talking/crying, but they've been amazing. I'm glad that you were able to leave your situation back then. Wow, what an eventful update, and thank God you made the right decision. I love how he instantly moves in a new woman while shouting and storming at you to come back to him. I think he needs to learn to bait his hook better. Yes, that was mind-boggling to say the least. In a selfish way, I'm glad his attention isn't fully on me though. Next story. I left my husband, 35 male, a couple of weeks ago to get some space, and it confirmed for me that I, 27 female, don't want to reconcile. I don't know how to respond to his pleas for me to come back. We've been together 8 years, married for 4. It's been a roller coaster since we got married. Here's the short of it. He disclosed credit card debt when we got married. I helped pay it off. We talked about money and other big values, and we seemed to be on the same page or willing to compromise. So I went into the marriage happy. We bought a house soon after and I got pregnant. In the next 3 years, he brought another gun into the house. After agreeing to only having one for home defenses, I did not want any. He didn't help at all when our son was born. In fact, he made things more difficult by not cleaning up after himself. Then I found that he had credit cards I didn't know about and had gotten $25,000 in debt. Then he got a concealed carry permit, after agreeing not to get one before we got married. Then I found him on a dating site which he had paid a $30 premium membership for. Then I found out that he hadn't actually been paying down his debt like I thought. It was down to $15,000, but then it went back up to $22,000. He started getting mean in the last year, making comments and calling me names when we argued. He bought a new dream car which increased his monthly payment and caused him to have to work more overtime. Then he threatened to lay his hands on me a couple months ago. That's when I started planning to leave. It's been a few weeks and I'm so much happier. My son is adjusting well, and had been spending a couple days a week with his dad, with me dropping by to put him to bed to make the transition a little easier. He's been this black cloud over my life, causing huge amounts of stress and constant anxiety. I feel so much calmer and happier without him. My husband wants to try counseling. We've done a few sessions with 2 different therapists in the past, and every time he came out of it angry and refused to go back until we found a different counselor. He always feels like they are against him. It's been months and he just recently found one. I'm willing to go, but to improve our communication and co-parenting. My problem now is that he's texting me that he misses me, that he's nothing without me, that I have to come home because we're a family, that he needs his wife back, that he's not sleeping well. It goes on and on. I don't know how to handle these. I've been pretending that I'm going to bed early so that I don't have to reply. I feel terrible for ignoring them, but the truth is that I don't miss him. I don't want to be cruel and say that straight up, but I also don't want to lie and say I do. I'm afraid to drop divorce on him because he's not in a good place mentally, and I'm afraid he will just crumble. He's been on medication and in counseling for years, but his depression is still bad. He will not listen to boundaries I set about not talking about our relationship outside of counseling. I still care about him, so it's hard to watch him hurting so much while I'm feeling so much better. Now for the advice. Lawyer up and build a calm, secure life your son needs. I noticed he's not saying what he's done wrong, apologizing, etc. Just how awful his life is. Be glad you're done with him other than co-parenting. If you agree to counseling, make sure he and the therapist knows you're only interested in improving your ability to co-parent your child and not getting back together. Well, given the history, it sounds like you are 100% making the right choice. My biggest concern here is for your safety. You've said that he is battling mental illness, and B carries a concealed weapon. I'm sorry to say it that way, but those are the facts of the matter. This could be a dangerous situation, so you need to make sure you and your child are protected. Do you have family who can help you? Maybe you can stay with them when you break the news to him about divorce. If you know people who live far away, that might be even better. Whatever your next step is, just be very careful and very aware of keeping yourself safe. You may not think he's capable of anything, but better safe than sorry. Oh, and I should mention that you need to protect your finances as much as possible. And maybe get your ducks in a row with that before you tell him about the divorce. He had a mental health crisis not too long ago and all of his guns were taken. I'm staying with my parents, so I feel safe right now. I have access to cameras at his house so I can check in on our son while he's there. I'm trying to do as much as I can to keep us safe. Last story is titled, My husband just spent a ton of money on himself and his dog, knowing I was trying to save up so my kids could actually have a Christmas. I think I'm here more or less to vent than anything else. I lost my job a month ago due to medical issues, and I'm currently very close to being able to get back out there. I can see the end of the tunnel, but I'm still in a lot of pain. My husband is now the breadwinner for the first time ever since being together, 8 years. My children are not his biological kids. He got a dog 2 years ago and that is his baby. Like won't go anywhere without his dog. It is like an unhealthy attachment. Like if he gets home from work, he won't even speak to me, but will immediately love on his dog and continue to do so all night, while take care of the entire house. Has her sit on his lap all night long basically. He treats me and the kids fine, don't get me wrong. He is not mean. He is attentive for the most part. He just very obviously loves his baby much more. Anyways, we got our workers' relief check in the mail on Monday of last week. I went and cashed them on Friday and put them in the bank, and fully told him I plan to spend that on my kids for Christmas, which is going to be incredibly small this year. Maybe 2 items at most, because we are broke, but I told him this anyways. Today he had a day off and he ended up going and dropping $90 on a pair of shoes that he didn't need. He has like 4 other pairs that he makes up excuses to not wear. A new insulated hat and face mask that cost almost $30. A new 12-feet phone charger for himself despite us having 2 regular chargers already. And then dropped almost $80 on his dog. Treats, jackets, booties, hat. He also paid rent and our other bills. So now we have $34 left over. Which means he literally spent all of my workers' relief checks, so now I have nothing. I confronted him on it and he said not to worry about it because he will have 4 paychecks between now and Christmas. And the kids will still have crap for Christmas. But the thing is, we have almost $400 coming out for his back debt payments. My kids are going to have an awful Christmas even more than they were already looking at. Because he spent all this money on unnecessary things that he and his dog definitely didn't even need. I'm so upset. I know I will figure it out, no question, whether I need to go through a Toys for Tots program or not, but I can't tell if I'm allowing this to build resentment. Because admittedly, Christmas is my favorite holiday, and I like spending at least $150 on each of my kids. But this year, I will be lucky to spend maybe $50 each. I feel this was so disrespectful that he spent the only money he had that was actually mine on himself and his dog. We couldn't have separate bank accounts because he owed money from his previous bank. He was 19 and his mother was writing and bouncing checks in his name. So it was either get on the account with me as a secondary or pay back almost $9,000 worth of stuff that his mother should have been paying back. We had a rough start because of her ignorance. His credit was destroyed already when I met him at 18 because his mother completely screwed him. This is the first time this has ever happened. I had no reason prior to not trust him being on my account. We were best friends for 7 years prior to dating. Well, it doesn't sound like you're his best friend at all now. Exactly. How is he your best friend if he doesn't like your kids? Because my BFF has a kid, and I buy her unprompted several Christmas and birthday presents every year, and sometimes just because. I'll praise her art or chat with her when I'm on the phone with my friend. Yes, your friends don't have to love your kids, but if you're going to give them a parent's role in your kid's life, then yeah, they absolutely do need to love and prioritize them. What the heck are you teaching your kids to accept from relationships and the adults in their lives? The fact that he can't get another bank account in no way, shape or form, means you can't have another one. You need your own savings account for Christmas at the absolute least. Bigger than that though, the situation is concerning. Being married to someone who hasn't actually accepted your kids as their own is problematic. If you can tell he cares about the dog more than he cares about them, so can they. That's a really crappy position to put your kids in. The selfishness is an issue, as is you explicitly telling him how you wanted to spend the money, and him responding by just spending it on something else instead of discussing it if he had an issue. A stepdad loved the dog more than me and his bio daughter. And you? Am I the a-hole for suing my ex and her boyfriend? Plus updates. My ex and I divorced 3 years ago. She was cheating, but at this point, I don't care about the relationship anymore. The pending lawsuit has nothing to do with her or him, but rather their actions. My ex and I have a son, 13 male, that we split time with 50-50. He's a great kid. That interests have changed a lot, to be honest, as I imagine more kids/teenagers tend to do through the years. One thing my son was heavily into at some point was Legos. He uses to play with them all the time, and personally, I think they're a great toy for different reasons. I used to love playing them with him, and to this day, I still collect boxes that I'll leave unopened as a collection. Well, when my ex and I divorced, she got with someone who loved Legos more, I guess. From what I know, he loves making creations and building the sets in. I don't care. Seems cool. He does one thing I think is very, very weird though. He uses crazy glue, so that the sets can't break or pieces can't be lost. It seems so weird to me. The issue is, I was out of town for all 3 days of last week for medical reasons, and my son wanted to get his PS4 so he could play it at his mom's. This isn't out of the ordinary at all, and he has a key, so he let me know he would be stopping over for it. I told him to have fun when I saw him on the entry camera. My wife's husband was with him, which was a no-no, and I told him via speaker to not go in and to wait on the porch. He flinched, but walked in anyway. I sent my ex a text telling her to call him and tell him he's 1 minute away from a cop call. He left my home, but with a bag in hand, which I didn't think much of because my son had his games too. Well, my son texted me later that evening and said he didn't know it at the time, but he's pretty sure the boyfriend took some of my sets. These are all old sets, and the two are worth big money. When I got home, I confirmed the missing sets and called my ex. She had no idea, but he admitted he took them, but it was so son could have the sets to complete his collection. My son doesn't even like Legos anymore, and told his mom he wouldn't steal from me. My wife asked how much it would cost to replace them, and unfortunately it's more than their savings. Actually, it would take their house down payment, plus more. I told them if they didn't pay in 2 weeks, I was suing and pressing charges, and the price of the sets makes it a felony. My ex and her husband are saving for a house, which would give my son more space when he's there. But those sets were going to help pay for his education someday, or a home of his own. I filed a police report and have talked to a lawyer, and we're moving forward with the suit. Everyone is calling me a joke because they are toys, but I don't get it. They are worth real money. I'm not rich, guys. I needed those to help with my son's future. But again, taking this money does deny my son things at his mom's house. Am I the a-hole here? Added to add, the sets have been opened, which more than half their worth, and one was glued together. The damage was done already. The stolen items are King's Castle, Milk Truck, Lego Land Train Carousel, and the glued one was a Star Wars Snow Speeder. Some of these are one piece of a larger set. So if you lose 1 of 5, you lose the value of one product, plus the value of the set as a whole. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Looking at it from just a monetary value, I don't believe your friends would be saying the same if he had stolen X amount of money. He shouldn't have entered your house without permission, and he shouldn't have stolen the sets. He broke the law, so he faces the consequences of his actions. It's about as simple as that. The man is a thief, plain and simple. He committed a felony and needs to face the consequences for his actions. Also, there's no way he didn't go in there for the sole purpose of stealing those sets. Not the a-hole OP. You might also want to consider going for full custody. You don't want your son spending 50% of his time with a felon and someone enabling a felon. Or at least a restraining order against a boyfriend, so he can't enter your property again without consequences. To be fair, entering a property without the owner's permission, or in this case specifically with the owner telling you to get lost, is always going to have consequences. Wait, so someone who you didn't want in your house entered your house and then took something from you? How are you anything but not the a-hole? They are arguing that I'm denying our son a bigger living space while she has him. This is actually true. Well, not by denying it, but it would take all their savings for a house and they'd still fall short. So they're trying to blame the victim. This is an easy fix on their part. Return what they stole and everything goes away. Are they fighting with you about this? They can't return them in the same condition. They were all opened and one was out together, glued. Opening the box takes a lot of the value away, unfortunately. For anyone wondering, the milk truck is worth between $2,000 and $3,000. The King's Castle goes anywhere from $500 to $1,000. The snow speeder is around $300 to $500, and the only cheap one is the Legoland train, and that's if it's the 2016 one, and goes for about $4 to $6. Now for the first update. I know I haven't been here much, but I have read many of your comments and taken them to heart. I know my spelling is poor, guys, and I apologize for the format. Calling me names in my private message was not called for, and I am not a scalper. I enjoy buying these sets and do not intend to sell all of them, but I want my son to go to college and not worry about debt, so I want to sell the ones that I can to help. I never had a smarts for higher education, but my son is not me, and I love him and want him to do better. Around 4 p.m., I called the local state police and met at their facility. I gave them all I had and gave my statement. My son is with me starting tonight, so when I picked him up, I sent him into GameStop and called his mom. I told her I had filed charges, that I asked the cop to call me when everything was done so I could give him the opportunity to turn himself in. I wanted to be better than he treated me. I'll save her reaction for a real update, by the way. Then I told my son when we got home what I did and why. My son said that I did the right thing, because he didn't want his stepdad to think it was okay to do it again. And if he didn't go to jail, he'd rather be away from him so it isn't weird. And now for the full update. I have received a few requests regarding posting an update, and I did promise to update the situation once it was resolved. And as far as I have any say, the headache is over for the most part. I can't say that I feel whole, but I'm not angry about it as I think the consequences are something to respect. I read through most of the comments and really appreciate the time most of you took out of your day to offer advice and well wishes. I know I didn't respond to all of them, but your time and care were noticed. I accept all your judgments, but I must say your kindness blew me away while some took time out of their day just to be mean, which is on you, I guess. I understand Legos are toys, but I enjoy the hunt, and it's worth it to me. As I said, I decided to go to the police with a video, my statement, texts from my ex, and emails. I told the police I wanted this pursued as he had entered my house after being told not to, and stole valuables. They took everything I had to offer, and as of yesterday, my ex's boyfriend was arrested for a few different violations/laws. He was charged with grand larceny and breaking and entering, among a few other charges. My ex is really upset at me, and him. However, she bailed him out, so I'm guessing she isn't too upset with him. Ex's boyfriend has called a few times and showed up once. He left the used sets on my porch, and I'm not sure what he thinks that does at this stage. They aren't worthless, but their value is less than half. I told my lawyer he did this, and she was blown away. Then I sent an email to my ex telling her and him to stay away from me at my home, and I only wanted to hear from her if it was concerning our child. This was his first offense to my knowledge, so I don't expect him to do jail time. However, my lawyer said it was possible due to the amount of crimes and when/how they took place. Apparently, doing that during the day is worse, and he did it in front of my child, which doesn't help him. I expect a leg day probation, to be honest with all of you, but I'm very far from a legal expert. I spoke to the lawyer on Tuesday this week regarding the loss, and unfortunately, I'm looking at a tough road ahead of me. The pieces stolen are valued at what they sell at auction, which the local DA will decide which auctions are reputable. So, that could go different ways. Moreover, the fact the boyfriend broke up my sets were irrelevant. The lawyer said it would be like stealing one baseball card out of an entire set and burning it. You are only owed the value of that one card even if you can't get that one card again. The fact he returned them is an admission of guilt, she said, and that we could definitely reclaim the amount of money and an open set for each would be worth, but it doesn't make the matter better in my opinion. I know a lot of you thought 10 to 20K wasn't nearly enough for a house down payment, but in my neck of woods, it's plenty. And my lawyer recommended we go forward with a civil suit and I agreed. With that and the legal charges, I feel that is well enough. I will have enough savings and Lego stock, lol, to fund his 4 years at a good state school. I wish I could do more, but you can't win them all. My son has been staying with me full-time as he feels it's awkward at his mom's, and is pretty upset at his mom about the whole thing. But I'm trying to smooth that over best I can, considering the circumstances. He has asked to stay here full-time, which I support, and told his mom as much. I told her we could do it through courts or keep it simple, and I think she wants to keep it simple. I haven't thought much about child support, but I don't think asking for a small amount would be bad. I don't want to break my ex, but our kid should come first. Thank you to everyone for their well wishes and thoughts. Best of luck to everyone out there. Again, if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them. Seriously, at what point did this grown man who knew he was not allowed in the house think that taking obviously unopened and collectible Lego sets to then glue them together was not going to go his way? Well, we are talking about somebody who glues their Lego sets together. I hate to say it, but I had this exact thought. The kind of person who glues Lego sets together is not the kind of person who understands what makes them valuable to collectors, as a rule. I will never understand the people who dismiss this kind of thing as, oh, those are just toys, without even thinking about it. Hell, I have a Lego collection that is all out of boxes and assembled, and that collection is still valuable enough to merit a specific rider on my homeowner's insurance. A lot of people fabulously undervalue something if they don't care about it. After all, how much could it be worth to you if it doesn't hold any value to me? It blows my mind that the ex really thought he could go in and steal the sets without any consequences, and then bringing them back. The absolute cheek of entering the house to steal valuables, while the homeowner is on the intercom telling you to get out, and that you don't have their permission to enter, and then acting shocked when your blatantly criminal actions are being treated as criminal actions. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law to get over himself and to quit holding a 10-year-old grudge? My brother-in-law, married to my sister, is a general contractor. About 10 years ago, my dad and brother was building a deck at my parents' home. They asked my brother-in-law if they could borrow his skid loader, but he said no. They prepared the ground as best as they could without a skid loader, but got to the point they couldn't go on without it. They went to my sister's house to ask again, but found out brother-in-law went out of town. They talked my sister into letting them borrow it, so she took them down to his construction lot and they hooked it up to Dad's truck. This next part I'm not sure of since I don't know much about towing, but from what I was told, Dad's truck wasn't big enough or powerful enough to tow the skid loader on a dump trailer, so lost control and wrecked. The truck, trailer, and skid loader were totaled. The insurance was barely enough to cover the medical costs and the truck, and there was none left over to cover brother-in-law's stuff. When he got back to town, he exploded. He threatened to sue, and things just went downhill from there. My parents are not rich, and he wouldn't have gotten anything, so in the end, sister talked him into letting it go. However, from that day on, he wouldn't have anything to do with our family. He doesn't come for birthdays, holidays, nothing at all. Next month is our parents' 50th anniversary, and we're planning a big family gathering to celebrate. We're also chipping in to send our parents on a cruise to Mexico because they've never been out of the country. I spoke to sister about it the other day and she said she's coming with the kids but brother-in-law's not coming. I was fine with that, but when we were discussing their portion of the cruise money, I heard him yelling in the background to deduct their portion from the cost of the skid loader and the dump trailer. That angered me. So after my call with sister, I called brother-in-law and told him to get over himself. I said Dad and brother made a mistake. But that was 10 years ago and he needs to let it go. He said let it go when they give him the money he lost. I told him he's an a-hole for holding on to a grudge and putting money in the way of a family relationship. Sister called me a few minutes ago and said they're not coming anymore and that I was out of line. We argued for a bit, and that's where it stands. I don't think I'm wrong for telling him to let go of the past, but they're not coming to the anniversary party, so now I'm not sure. Answers to your questions. Let's get something straight. My dad and brother are not bad people. They are good people who made a mistake. They couldn't pay back brother-in-law because he wanted almost $70,000. And again, we're not rich. Dad had to buy another truck because he needed it to go to work. On the other hand, brother-in-law had other 3 sets of skid loaders and dump trailers on his lot that day, so he could take the financial hit while my parents would be homeless. Brother-in-law and sister are way better off than the rest of us, so while I understand your reasoning for paying brother-in-law back, he doesn't need it. The cruise to Mexico isn't some millionaire trip. The total cost is about $3,000. It'll take over 20 people to pay for that. Again, we're not rich. We can barely cover $3,000 spread out over 20 people. So there's no way we can pay $70,000. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Your family stole $50,000+ in work equipment from your brother-in-law. They didn't pay him back. By the sounds of it, showed zero remorse, and he should just get over it. You and your family sound massively entitled. Your brother-in-law is smart to cut a lot of you clean off. Not just that, I'm actually surprised insurance paid out anything. In the UK, this would be an at-fault claim, and more likely than not outside the scope of insurance because they are towing beyond their vehicle limit. Parents should be grateful all he's done is ignore them. I would have sued. Courts, again in the UK, set up payment plans, so their relative lack of wealth wouldn't be a major issue. Beyond that, I would have also reported it stolen. To be fair about this though, the sister shouldn't have let them have it against his wishes. It wasn't her stuff to share. He should be pissed off at her as well. You can't have a successful relationship if you're not on the same page. In the UK, brother-in-law could have claimed off his own insurance by reporting the theft, as long as his wife has no authorization within the company to loan out equipment. Of course, this could have led to the prosecution of his wife and her family for the theft, and result in a criminal record, prison sentence, etc. Which they would have deserved. He should have reported it to the police. I am surprised he didn't divorce Opie's sister, especially because only he went no contact with father-in-law and brother-in-law. His wife didn't, and she even expected him to let it go, and not try to get compensation for his destroyed stuff. Sister knew he previously said no, and that those are his work equipment, so she has absolutely no right to go anywhere near them, let anyone near them. And now they were talking about Opie's sister's family, giving money to the parents after how much they already cost her husband, his family, and company. Opie's family has no right to ask sister and her husband for cash at all. You're the a-hole. Opie's family's full of entitled a-holes. Opie, Opie's father, Opie's brother, Opie's sister. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my husband's pregnant sister and making him choose between me and her? My female 25, husband male 28 doesn't have a job. He takes care of the house chores while at work. His sister, female 22, came to stay with us a few weeks ago because of a fight she had with her parents. Neither wanted to tell us what happened. I didn't want her here. She isn't in school, doesn't work, doesn't do anything to help with the chores, is a spoiled brat, acts entitled, etc. I only agreed to let her stay here for a week. It's been 6 weeks. I honestly can't stand to live with her anymore. She makes a mess everywhere, has parties when me and hubby aren't home, plays music on max volume till 4 in the morning. She's rude, breaks stuff, and disrespects all my boundaries and house rules. Finances aren't good either with the extra expenses. So last night, I sat them down and told them that she needs to leave in a week because I'm done. I haven't had a real night's sleep in 6 weeks. The apartment is a mess because my husband can't keep up with the mess she makes. And I'm reaching rock bottom with the expenses. He asked if I would let her stay if she would get a job, and I said yes. That would mean she won't have the energy to stay up till 4 a.m. and make a mess, and she will also contribute financially. She ran out screaming that she isn't getting a job, and that I'm a witch. I called mother-in-law and asked her again why they had a fight. Well, she's pregnant. Baby daddy disappeared into the night when he heard the news. She expected her parents to provide, and they said no, so she came here. I told my husband, and he was shocked but said we can't kick her out now. I said, yes, we can, and we are. I will not be financially responsible for her anymore.
I will not be financially responsible for her child. I will not have a child in my home as I strongly dislike kids. I don't need the noise, the mess, the smell, the extra expenses. Hubby said he understands that I don't want any of this, but we can't kick her out because she has nowhere to go since his parents won't let her move back home. I simply said either she goes or I go. I'm sick of him enabling her behavior. He always makes excuses for her. He bends backwards for her. Well, I'm not going to. She is an adult. She isn't in school. She doesn't work. She wants to have a baby? Okay, then she needs to grow up and provide for herself. She isn't disabled, sick, mentally incapacitated, or anything else that would stop her from working. She just doesn't want to work. Her parents spoiled her too much when she was younger, and now she thinks the world revolves around her. My friends and my in-laws agree with me, but my parents say I'm the a-hole for kicking out a pregnant girl and making my husband choose between me and her. I'm not changing my decision no matter what. If she's not out in a week, I will be. But I'm curious if I'm the a-hole. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law, huge a-hole. Your husband, enabling a-hole. If your parents want to take her spoiled butt in, great. If they don't, then they can stop being a-holes about your decision. You literally took the words out of my mouth. Mom and Dad, her own parents won't shelter her. But if you want to, I'll share your address and you can provide her with a home and pay for her expenses and clean up after her. Your husband, I'm sorry, is not very smart. He doesn't work or provide any financial contribution, and he can't even clean up enough behind one person or cause her to be less messy. And this solution after she can't go to school or get a job or behave like a good roommate or clean up after herself is that she deserves a place to stay because she got herself pregnant and has no plan, when even his own parents won't shelter her, is we have to house her now. That way we can not only do all of these bad things but also be responsible for her child. You and your husband should talk to your in-laws. They are the ones who created this monster, and he's the one who keeps feeding it, not the a-hole. In-laws aren't going to do anything. They kicked the sister out but refused to tell their son why so that he'd take her in and she'd become his problem. Bad if sister does get kicked out. Opie and her husband will catch grief from the in-laws for kicking out his pregnant sister. Not the a-hole, but Opie, you already have 2 kids in the house and you're just trying to get rid of one of them. Make it a twofer and reclaim your life. If Opie does that, the Xbox and couch will get lonely. Not the a-hole. If your parents say you're the a-hole, then let them take care of her themselves. If your friends and even her own parents agree with you, then I don't think you need any more confirmation from anyone. You don't need to feel guilty over this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for pulling my attendance from my sister's wedding after already RSVPing yes? I lost my husband and the father of my children 5 years ago. We had been together from the age of 17, had married in our 20s, and he passed at the age of 31. Our children were very young. The last 5 years, I have missed him like crazy, and have poured myself into focusing on my children, my hobbies, and even furthering my career more. I have no interest in dating or finding a new partner. My sister and a couple of other family members have been trying to encourage me to find a new partner, to find a dad for my kids, to look for more love. I have zero interest. It's something I have discussed with my sister on repeat and she has told me she doesn't understand. Even as a teen, I had zero interest in dating. My husband was the exception. I loved him. I was best friends with him. We were compatible in every way, and we found a relationship that worked for the two of us and gave us a life better than we had planned on. My interest in dating has not sparked now in my 30s and widowed. I have pleaded with my sister to understand, to know that I am living the life I want to live, and that I am not some broken-hearted shell who has paused my life. It seemed as though she accepted it. She announced her engagement months ago, sent invites for her February wedding in December, and she and her fiancé left a note that they would cover the cost of the hotel for me, because they are aware I am now a single mom, and that leaving my 3 kids with my in-laws covers some expense but not all. So, I RSVP'd yes. Then over Christmas, my brother told me my sister has rounded up many single men to invite to the wedding, and she has recruited some people to help her play matchmaker for me at her wedding. He said it was why she paid for the hotel for me and everything. I was not happy. The friend she recruited to help confirmed it to me too. She said my sister has been wanting to find me the perfect man and has planned it all. I was so done at this point that I called my sister, told her I knew what she was up to, and I would no longer be attending her wedding, and I was not going to trust her again. She got so upset and told me I was overreacting. My parents also chimed in and told me the same. They said I could just ignore her plan and attend and support my sister. My sister keeps telling me I need to come, and then she got mad saying she's trying to save me for myself. The controversy is rumbling almost a week after I told her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You don't want to date. That is valid, and that's what your sister needs to accept. Whether or not you find a partner should be done entirely on your timeline and terms, not hers. The sister sounds like a monster. Attempting to surprise Opie by ignoring their boundaries and playing matchmaker at her own wedding? Like, come on, she needs to stop trying to force it. Sounds like Opie's sister hopes that without the kids in tow, she'll let her hair down. And with a hotel room at the venue, she'll be comfortable drinking more than she usually would, letting her inhibitions down and maybe ending up hooking up with someone. Freaking awful. Not the a-hole. She doesn't get to decide when it's time for you to move on. It was a scummy move for her to set up this whole scheme behind your back, and I don't blame you for not going. Yup, especially since Opie has told her repeatedly that she does not want to date. Sister is just another busybody trying to save people from themselves. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. How does she even have the time to set up such an elaborate scheme when she's supposed to be planning a wedding? Not sure, but it's probably why she recruited others to help her. Screw her, and go no contact with all of them until they understand. Don't let your parents have access to your children either. I have a feeling they'll poison the kids against you for not giving them a new dad. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wearing my engagement ring when I knew my stepsister was getting engaged? I, 28 female, got engaged at the beginning of December. For Christmas, I was staying with my mom and stepdad, and they were hosting my stepdad's whole family. Step-siblings, mother, brothers, cousins, plus families for a New Year's party. Prior to this, my stepsister, 29 female, Rachel's now fiancé Matt, informed my parents that he was going to propose and asked if it would be okay to do it at a party, and my parents agreed. For the party, everyone was dressing up, and obviously I was wearing my engagement ring. Everybody already knew I was engaged, but it was the first time they'd seen the ring in person. So, at the start of the party, everyone was interested in seeing it. I did notice Matt was being a bit cold with me, but I thought it was nerves. The proposal happened and it was beautiful. Everyone congratulated Rachel, but it was kind of a 50-50 on people wanting to look at and compliment her ring and mine. A lot of comparisons were made, nothing in kind, and everyone was really happy for Rachel, as was I. The day after, Rachel and Matt blew up about me wearing my ring to the party. Rachel said I was deliberately trying to draw attention to myself on her special night, and that since I knew beforehand that she was getting engaged, I shouldn't have worn my ring, since I don't always wear it anyway. I don't really agree with this, since I've been engaged for weeks and everyone already knew about it. It's not like I stole her thunder, nor did I intend to by wearing my ring. I wore it because I'm engaged, so it's what you do. Matt then accused me of embarrassing him by wearing my colossally large ring, when I knew Rachel's wouldn't be anywhere near as big, and intentionally showing him up in front of the family. He even went on about the other jewelry I wore. My stepdad called them both stupid for their outburst. My stepbrother says there's no way I could have known that's how they'd feel. It's not like they asked me not to wear it. My mom says while she knows I didn't do it deliberately, she can see where Rachel is coming from, since everyone preferred my ring to hers. She also said that given that my ring is quite unique, I should have considered it would draw attention. Edit. I don't always wear it when I'm loafing around the house all day because I paint and bake and play with my dogs. It's heavy and gets caught in things. I don't not wear it because it's ostentatious. If I'm dressed and going out, even to the grocery store, I wear it. Just not when I'm doing house things. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are engaged. It is normal for you to wear your ring, especially at family occasions. What's next? Can you not bring your husband to their wedding because any reminder that anyone else has ever gotten married would be upstaging their day? I'm confused. Shouldn't Opie be wearing her ring all the time? Possibly except while bathing or bread baking? I know I kept mine on 24/7. Not the a-hole. You don't stop being engaged just because other people get engaged. Also, if he feels you stole the thunder because your ring is nicer, he is completely missing the point of marriage. I'm thinking this is it, the ring envy.
Not the a-hole.
You didn't get engaged at a party. People already knew you were engaged. And this was an annual holiday get-together where people hadn't seen you in person for a while. Rachel and Matt are being silly, and your stepdad is right. This was stupid. But it was Rachel's special night. Rachel acts like the whole party was her engagement party, instead of a family gathering where she happened to get engaged. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my brother to share his daughter's inheritance from our cousin with my stepdaughter? My cousin Laura passed last year, which was devastating for our whole family. There is now some conflict with the inheritance. Laura's will left everything to her husband and future children, but if not, a third would go to her parents and a third to charity. The final third to be divided between 6 nibblings accessible when they turn 18. Laura was an only child, so the nibblings in question are her cousin's kids. Me and my brother are her only cousins from her mom's side, my aunt, but from her dad's she has 9. From all of us, there are a total of 7 kids, including my brother's daughter and my stepdaughter. And me and my stepdaughter were hurt when we realized my stepdaughter wasn't a part of this third. Recently, I brought up to my brother that he should share niece's inheritance with my stepdaughter. I said it's more fair this way, and would lower resentment between the kids later on. My niece is only 5 compared to my stepdaughter who's 16, so it would be more useful for her in the near future. Also, I'm not saying it has to be half and half, but just a portion for stepdaughter. My brother didn't take this well and went off, saying the money is for his daughter and we're being greedy. But I got upset and said, no one in this family really cares about stepdaughter and are more focused on blood ties. He's angry with me, but some other people who know what happened is on my side. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Like a lot. This is incredibly bad form on your part. Your cousin chose who she wanted her estate to be divided amongst. Does it suck that your stepdaughter wasn't one of the people? Sure. That doesn't give you the right to demand that somebody give her a share of the inheritance. That's just crude and gross. It stood out to me that Opie's only asking the blood brother to give up a portion of his child's. I wonder why Opie isn't asking the other cousins. Oh, that's right. They aren't related. The irony. Yep. I guess blood ties matter to Opie when convenient. Fact is that cousin's will sounds quite specific. It is not Opie's right to demand things from people who've received their rightful share based on cousin's decisions. So let me reverse this one for you. Your stepdaughter receives an inheritance from either her mother or father's family. Are you going to give chunks of it out to the other kids? After all, you wouldn't want there to be resentment because your stepdaughter got something and they didn't, right? And if your family, after finding out about your stepdaughter's inheritance, called and said that she should fork over some of it over to make things fair, would you agree to it? Or would you say that they weren't related to her family, so they should get nothing? You're disrespecting your cousin's wishes by doing this. You are being entitled, and you are teaching your stepdaughter entitlement. You are demanding that your niece have less, so your stepdaughter can have something. And you don't think that would cause resentment when she grows up and finds out? You want to take your niece's money from her, and your reasoning is that she's 5 and doesn't need it, as if that money can't be put away for when she does need it. I'm going to be honest, you're behaving like a vulture. Your cousin dies and you don't think you've got fair share of the meat, so you're trying to snatch it out of the mouths of others. Do you really think this is acceptable? If your brother passes first, will you demand his daughter hand over some of her inheritance to your stepdaughter to make things fair? Because that is where your logic is taking you. You're the a-hole and you owe your brother an apology. An inheritance is a privilege, not a right. You could have explained this to your stepdaughter, pointed out lots of others weren't included, and told her that money doesn't equal love. Instead, you want to snatch money from your niece. Do better. Also, while it sucks in some situations, blood ties are very important to people. Exactly. Thing is, if Opie's stepdaughter inherited things and his brother asked for some of it, even if his brother and niece had a relationship with whoever left the inheritance, I'm sure Opie's answer would be that they aren't related so they get nothing. Also, I'm sure if this situation were reversed, Opie would be appalled. I just noticed this is money in a trust to be accessed when the kids are 18. So Opie is asking his brother to raid his niece's trust. That's so scummy and could get the brother into trouble. This isn't about blood or people not loving/caring about the stepdaughter. It's about morality. No one else who wasn't left anything is proposing to take money from a 5-year-old.